Mr. President, Governors, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Governor for the Netherlands in the African Development Bank, Ms. Liliane Ploemen, Minister for Foreign Trade and Development Cooperation, I would like to thank the government of the Republic of Côte d'Ivoire for hosting the year's annual meeting. The bank has done a remarkable job in continuing business, notwithstanding the tremendous effort that was required to move back to Abidjan from Tunis. The role and facilitation done by the Ivorian authorities to this process cannot be underestimated. Après 11 ans d'absence, la banque retrouve son siège à Abidjan, où la banque a débuté il y a 50 ans. Et je vous souhaite la bienvenue chez vous. 2015 is also the year of the African Development Bank 50 years existence, which we celebrate during these annual meetings. In the latter decade of these 50 years, under the able leadership of President Kaberuka, the bank has developed itself into the premier multilateral development bank institution, owned by and aimed at the transformation of Africa. I would like to address three key issues. First, the role of the African Development Bank in Africa. The theme of these annual meetings is Africa and the new global landscape. Africa's growth is above the world average, and nevertheless Africa and the world are vulnerable to shocks, and the operating environment this year has been challenging for the bank. African countries have witnessed social and political instability, and Africa as a continent was affected by great macroeconomic uncertainties. And we applaud the establishment of a transition support department within the bank that will work specifically on the complexity of fragile states. We have already seen several fragility analyses prepared, which provide concrete added value to the bank's engagement. The outbreak of Ebola in West Africa illustrates the vulnerability of countries that have witnessed fragility. And we are aware that the African Development Bank has fought the Ebola disease from the very beginning. I want to thank the bank for the effort it has made. We'd like to urge the bank to sustain its support to these countries and to do this in close coordination with the World Bank, the IMF, the WHO, and other UN agencies. And the return of the bank to its original headquarters in Abidjan added to the complexity. The bank has proven to be resilient, despite these difficult circumstances, with loan and grant approvals above target, improving financial indicators, and the deliveries of strategies and policy documents. So secondly, the post-2015 agenda. This year is not only special for the bank, but 2015 will also be the most important year for the global development community in recent memory. This is also the year of Africa, and the African Development Bank plays the central role in the development of the African continent, and is equipped and mandated to play an important role in financing the post-2015 development goals. So we welcome the joint paper that the bank has drafted with other multilateral development banks and the IMF. However, we feel the last chapter is missing. What can multilateral development banks specifically deliver? And we call on all these institutions to not only write together, but to closely and coherently work together. And we urge the African Development Bank to continue to be proactive and as such optimally contribute to the success of the financing for the development conference at Addis Ababa. The Netherlands has the following priorities for financing for development: ODA to the poorest countries, domestic resource mobilization, and third, to increase the private sector involvement. And this coincides with one of the main pillars of engagement of the bank, which is to leverage and catalyze private funding for development. The bank is ideally positioned to ensure that it fosters an enabling environment for the private investment in Africa. And we applaud the current development of bank instruments that are aimed at lowering risk and thereby encouraging private finance to come on board. The lack of bankable projects still proves to be one of the main obstacles, but we believe the bank is well positioned to prepare projects that are commercially viable. And my country has extensive experience in leveraging private sector investment, and we are ready to work with the bank to explore a further increase in private financing in Africa. So we urge the bank to invest in a true coordination, complementarity and alignment of its activities with the other IFIs so as to benefit from each other's work by sharing due diligence results. And the African Development Bank has a clear comparative advantage on the African continent in relation to the other banks because of its African franchise. And this comparative advantage should and can be the basis of a real division of labor between the institutions. Thirdly and finally, the election of a new president. Under the presidency of Donald Kaberuka, the bank has become a well-respected and trusted partner for African countries in pursuing their development goals. This allows for high-level political dialogue between the bank and Africa's top leadership. The Netherlands is grateful for the leadership that President Kaberuka has brought to bear in the last 10 years. The bank has become an indispensable actor for all engaged in the development of Africa. President Kaberuka engagement will be a tall act to follow and has to set the standards very high, and he has set the standards very high. So during these annual meetings, the shareholders will elect the new president of the African Development Bank. And despite the progress that is made, vast challenges remain. And President Kaberuka's successor will have a tough job ahead. So we urge the bank to continue to support all those African countries in need in applied ways that reflect their stage of development, with their fragile, low income and middle income. The bank can only contribute optimally to sustainable and equitable growth in Africa if it keeps pursuing its reforms. So we welcome the progress the bank has made in the decentralization process, and we encourage the bank to continue on this path that will enhance the bank's delivery, efficiency, and effectiveness. And furthermore, we encourage the bank to streamline its human resource policies and conclude reforms on staffing. Financially, it's important the bank preserves its AAA status, and we are aware of how serious the bank takes this. We feel, however, the bank should aim for achieving the right balance between prudent financial management and generating optimal development impact by also further expanding its investment, diversify its exposure. We look forward to work with the bank and a new president in the years ahead. The Netherlands will remain a dedicated shareholder and is ready to engage with the bank in the near future. The bank is a partner of preference for us in Africa, and we would like to assure the bank that it can continue to count on our support. Thank you very much.